Hello, this is the first podcast about Koly Media. So here we go. Right now I'm folding clothes while I'm, making this podcast for the first time. But why not? So here's how Koly Media started. When I was in my freshman year of high school, that was around I think 2021. Well, prior to that, I've been in sports. I was an athlete, always did sports, but I didn't know anything other than sports, you know. So, I thought my one path was, go to college, play sports in high school, play sports in college, make it to the NFL, make it to the MLB, the sports dreams. That was the dream, the sports dream. So when I got to high school, of course I was in football, baseball, wrestling, all these different sports, wrestling, weightlifting, different sports, all around athlete. But I was introduced to a class called digital video technology. And that class right there was my introduction to storytelling, video, and everything around it. Honestly, I fell in love with that class. I really did love it. And it came to be one of my other passions other than doing sports. And it was something that I could, look forward to with school every day. Like, yo, I got my video class today. Oh, I'm going to make this video. I'm going to make this video. Oh yeah, we're shooting this short film, this music video, so on and so forth. So it was another outlet, as you could say. My sophomore year, is when I first had the idea of creating business, my own business for media, for storytelling, for a video business per se. That's when I first had that idea. And as the year go on, still playing football, playing baseball too. But, I slowly worked into doing more things with a camera outside of school that wasn't doing a short film. It was doing ads for people, my hairdresser, man, Nicole, my hairdresser, Hair Diva Nikki. She was one of the first people that I did a ad for. And it was an ad promoting her lock business. She was having like a lock day, teach people how to braid hair, how to braid locks, how to do locks. And she was one of the first people that let me do an ad for them to help them. And when I tell you, when I did that ad, man, I loved it. I really did. That's when I found out, I really want to go down this route. So as I spent more and more time in my video class, and eventually it became less time with sports. And that kind of just turned into me doing more video. My junior year. It was my junior year football season. And it was mid-game, right? It was junior year during football season where I had an accident. It was mid-game, I think around the second quarter, against this team from it was called Anclote Sharks. And I played outside linebacker. So I dropped back, seen the ball in the air. I got a pick, and on the way to me taking it back to the house, going back for the touchdown with the pick, I got tackled. But the thing is though, when I got tackled, they grabbed me, my ankle got stuck in a hole, and they twisted my body where it's kind of graphic, but my ankle dislocated and snapped to the left. And that caused my football season to be ended right there. I had to be rushed to the hospital. They did some emergency procedures, that I put the foot back in place. I had to get surgery for my ankle at some point in time. It was the whole 9 yards. When that happened, I was down, like football was everything. I wanted to play football in college. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do this and do that. But suddenly I wasn't able to do it anymore because I just had surgery on my ankle. I can't play football anymore. What do I do? Then that's when I thought, it's video. The thing what's the other thing that I've always loved? And it was video. I always like doing it, I could see it in my future with me doing it as a living, me traveling, all these different things I knew I could do with video. So while I was recovering from my ankle, from my injury, I got surgery and everything. And I think it was 2 games. Yeah, it was 2 games. When I came back and see my team, I had a camera in my hand. And that's when I started taking photos for our football team. I started repping my brand, Koly Media. I had me a shirt made. I got me a media pass. I was still a player on the team. I just thought about how can I help my team still, and taking photos for them was another outlet. So I started taking photos for the team. I was soon to be known as the media master for my team, Lakewood High School football team. And the rest of my junior year, I did photos for football. Then I transitioned into me trying out doing photos for volleyball. Volleyball. It was my first time actually offering my services to another person. And I was terrified. I was so nervous. I went up to them. I was like, yo, do you want some photos taken? And I gave them a price. It was like $15 or something like that. They said yes. I was so happy. After that, I went out to the volleyball game with one of the school's cameras, because at the time I didn't have my own personal camera. So I've been using the school's equipment this whole entire time. The school, they had Canon T7Is. Sometimes I use the 8i. And the low light isn't crazy with that camera. Mind you, we have the kit lenses at that. Sometimes I'll use a 70-200, but it didn't have a low aperture. So, I use what I got. I use what I worked with. And the photos, if I look back on it now, like I would be like, dang, them photos are bad. But instead of looking at how, I guess, bad they are, you have to look at like, dang, I really improved so much over the time. So I still have the photos too from my very first volleyball shoot. I have those photos still. So that was kind of my introduction into sports photography with volleyball and football. After that, I actually did a football camp later that year towards Mayish, because luckily we actually had a football camp at our school for the very first time. So I offered to be one of the photographers for the school, and just more and more experience, more work that just kept happening, because why not put my name out there? I couldn't do football no more. I had a lot of free time on my hands, picked up a camera, and I kind of just sticked with it throughout that summer. I did jobs here and there, not that many though, but overall, just gaining more experience. Going into my senior year, I had to make a choice. I recovered from my injury. I went through my physical rehab, physical therapy, and now I had the choice, if I wanted to continue playing sports, get back into playing sports, play football again, give my chance at, making a career in football, just playing for my final year, or do I want to be behind the camera for the season? That was the choice I had to make. And I was going back and forth. I want to play football. I want to do the camera. It's my last year. I have to make my memories. I really wanted to play, but I chose not to. I chose not to play, and I chose to be behind the camera lens, mainly because I was afraid. I was afraid of breaking my ankle again, because when I broke it, the doctors told me if I broke my ankle again, that they would have to amputate it. And honestly, that's one of my biggest fears. So I chose not to play football, and I was on the sideline. I was on the sideline taking photos, taking pictures, really being the media guy of our school year. And doing that, I started my social media page, which is Koly Media on Instagram. I started my social media page. I did this. I eventually made a website, which was kind of more recent. I started contacting, different people, schools. I started doing more photo shoots with different people. I just wasn't sports. I did an engagement shoot. I shot 2 weddings. I just start. I was getting my. I was trying to dabble in every niche and every subcategory of photography and videography to really see what I like doing myself. And doing that kind of created what my goals were for my own business, Koly Media. I don't want Koly Media just to be me. I want Koly Media to be a group of people. I want us all to work together on video progress, on video projects, and just have fun while doing it. Doing video is something you love to do. It's a passion. It's a hobby. It's something people do in their free time. But this free time hobby is something that we can make a business because people need our services. And our main goal is to help people. So why not help people with a team, have it as a business, and travel with it too. Travel too. That's what Koly Media would be. I don't want to be the guy at the top of my own business. I want to be there with my people on jobs, in meetings, still editing and shooting videos myself. It's a team effort. So why not do that? That's what I think Koly Media should be.